perfect square trinomials. But before that, let me explain briefly what is square and what is square roots. A square is the product of two identical numbers, and a square root is the certain number or variable, if we multiply it to its own, will become a square. For example, 1 is a perfect square because 1 can be written as 1 times 1. 1 times 1 is equals to 1. So the 1 here is the square root. And the 1 here is the square. So another example is 4. 4 is a perfect square since 4 can be written as 2 times 2. These are identical numbers. So 2 times 2 is 4. So therefore, 4 is a square. And 2 is the square root of 4. So another example, 9. 9 is a perfect square because 9 can also be written as 3 times 3. So 9 is a square and therefore 3 is the square root of 9. So another example, x squared. X squared is a perfect square since x squared can also be written as x times x. So that is square and square roots for you. So let's proceed to factoring perfect square trinomials. This is the expression of a perfect square trinomial: a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. It can also be expressed as a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. In this portion here, the left side, this is the factored form for a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. This one, a plus b, close parenthesis, raised to the power of 2. While this factored form is the factored form of this perfect square trinomial. So how to identify if a certain trinomial is a perfect square? So first, we need a criteria. The first criteria is that the first and the last term are perfect squares. And the middle term is the product. Its product is twice the square roots of the first and the last term. Okay, let's try some examples. By the way, we have an examples here taken from the grade 8 mathematics entitled Factoring Perfect Square Trinomials and General Trinomials, which is released by the Department of Education. So first we have 4x squared plus 16xy plus 16y squared. So the first criteria states that the first and the last terms should be a perfect square. So let's check. So the first term, 4x squared, can also be written as 2x times 2x. And 2x times 2x is equals to 4x squared. So therefore, the first term is a perfect square. So let's check the second or the last term, 16y squared. So this is also written as 4y times 4y. So the first and the last term are both perfect square. So let's check this middle term. The second criteria states that the middle term is twice the product of the square roots of the first and the last terms. So multiply by 2. What is the square root of the first term? 4x squared. So the square root of the first term is 2x. And the square root of the last term, 16y squared, is 4y. So 2 times 2x times 4y is equals to 16xy. So therefore, this trinomial is a perfect square trinomial. So how to factor a perfect square trinomial? So let's check this factored form for the perfect square trinomial. If the middle term is a positive sign, then we will use this factored form. If the middle term has a negative sign, then we will use this factored form. So since the middle term has a positive sign, we will use this factored form. So first, we find the square root of the first term. And the square root of the first term is 2x. Then plus, let's find the square root of the last term, which is the 16y squared. And its square root is 4y. And raised to the power of 2. So this is the factored form of this perfect square trinomial. So how to check if our answer is correct? So we multiply this factored form by its own. 2x plus 4y multiplied by 2x plus 4y. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times positive 4y is positive 8xy. Positive 4y times positive 2x is positive 8xy. And positive 4y times positive 4y is positive 16y squared. So sum up, 4x squared plus 8xy plus 8xy is 16xy. Then bring down 16y squared. So it's the same as this trinomial. Therefore, our factored form is correct. Okay, let's try another example. So we have 4x squared plus 12x plus 9. Okay, so we first check the first and last term if they are a perfect square. So the first term is perfect square since it can also be written as 2x times 2x. And the last term, 9, is also a perfect square since 9 can also be written as 3 times 3. And this number and variable for the first term is the square root of the first term. And this number here for the last term is the square root of the last term. Okay, let's check the middle term. The second criteria states that it is twice the product of the square roots of the first and the last term. So the square root of the first term is 2x. Square root of the last term is 3. So 2 times 2x times 3 is equals to positive 12x. So this is what. So therefore, this trinomial is a perfect square trinomial. Okay, let's factor this one. So again, the middle term has a positive sign. So we're using this factored form. So the square root of 4x squared is 2x plus square root of 9 is 3. So this is the factored form of this trinomial. So let's check. 2x plus 3, 2x plus 3. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 3 is positive 6x. Plus 3 times 2x is plus 6x positive 3 times positive 3 is positive 9. So we sum up 4x squared plus 6x is positive 12x. Then copy positive 9. So it's the same as this trinomial. So therefore, our factored form is correct. So let's have our final example. We have 16a squared minus 24ab plus 9b squared. Again, let's check. So the first term is a perfect square, since 16a squared can also be written as 4a times 4a, and this is its square root. And the last term is also a perfect square, since it can also be written as 3b times 3b. So let's check the middle term. Okay, it's twice the product of first square root and the last square root. So the first term square root is 4a, and the last term square root is 3b. So 2 times 4a times 3b is 24ab. Since we're using negative, so we're using this factored form in factoring this perfect square trinomial. Okay. So the square root of 16a squared is 4a minus square root of the last term is 3b square. So this is the factored form of this perfect square trinomial. So again, let's check. 4a minus 3b times 4a minus 3b. So 4a times 4a is 16a squared. 4a times negative 3b, it's negative 12ab. Negative 3b times positive 4a is negative 12ab. And negative 3b times negative 3b, it's positive 9b squared. Okay, let's sum up. 16a squared minus negative 12ab minus negative 12ab, it's negative 24ab. Bring down positive 9b squared. So it's the same as this expression. So that's how you do it on how to factor a perfect square trinomial. See you next time.